Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and we are going to talk about Battle of the Bands one-hit wonders. So, if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I have a real problem with readathons. In that, I sign up for too many, and then I stress myself out trying to read them all. But consistently, my friends Jake and Stacey have managed to talk me into doing their readathons that they do twice a year. They do different ones, but predominantly twice a year they do these. We did Battle of the Bands last year, but this year is one hit wonders and it's divided into decades. So we have the 70s, 80s, 90s, and aughts. I don't know. What do we call the 2000s? The 2000s, I guess. But anyway, we had to go pick out our team on Discord. I chose to not pick a team because generally speaking, I read all of the books. So it doesn't really matter to me what team I'm on. I wanted to, because they like to have the teams evenly spaced. And I could already tell there were a lot of people trying to be on the 80s team. So I just said to Stacey that she could put me wherever she wanted me to go. So this week, because the Battle of the Bands starts in just a few days. So this week, she went ahead and assigned me a team, and I'm on the team 70s. I was like, that's fine. I was born in the 70s, although I don't know a ton of the music from the 70s. However, as you'll see, all of these are one-hit wonders, and I feel like I know all of them, especially the 70s, 80s, 90s. The newer ones, I might not know as well, but anyway, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's a singing competition. It is just prompts based off of one-hit wonders from each of the decades. So they did such a great job with this. I'm going to move myself over and we're going to look at the prompts. Oh, I will tell you this. I gain points for my team when I read our books. So the books from the 70s are my team and I gain prompts for those. I gain points for those. For all the rest of them, I take points away from whatever team they're on. So if I read an 80s book, the 80s team loses points, etc. So that's really all we need to know as far as the teams go. And now let's talk about the actual books and the prompts. Okay, so I should be able to hide down here. I'm actually going to cover up the thing that says 70s and 80s, but you can clearly see what it is. Okay, so up in the top up here, we've got the 70s, the actual prompts and what song it's based off of, and then I'm going to add my books as we go. So the number one is Play That Funky Music, and that is a book with a funky, weird, or striking cover. And I am going with this, the Mask Falling. I just think that this cover is striking. It's not really funky, but it is kind of weird and striking. Okay, number two is Hooked on a Feeling. First of all, before I start, you'll notice I tried to do as many of my 50 before 50 books as I possibly could in all 20 of these prompts. So you'll notice that you've seen some of these before if you've seen my 50 before 50 list. Okay. Immediately binge the next book in a series. So I'm going with The Angel of Indian Lake because at the beginning of April, possibly the end of March, depending on how much time I have, I'm going to be rereading Don't Fear the Reaper, and then I'm moving right into The Angel of Indian Lake. And also, there are quite a few of us on the Discord that are reading this, so they've made us a little channel where we can chat about it. Anyway, I cannot wait. Okay, number three, American Pie, a book by a popular American author. I'm picking Karen Slaughter. I feel like no, she's not Stephen King popular. However, if you are in any kind of thriller or mystery fan, I feel like you've at least heard of Karen Slaughter. So then I have Stuck in the Middle with You, the second book in a trilogy or the middle book in a series. And I'm going with the second book in a trilogy. At least right now, it's supposed to be a trilogy. It might change, but that's the information I have right now. Isabella Maldonado, her book is coming out tomorrow. This book comes out tomorrow. So for The Angel of Indian Lake and A Forgotten Kill, they both come out tomorrow. So I'm going to be reading both of those in April, brand new books. And finally, book number 5, Blinded by the Light, a book with a character who is blinded by their ambition. So I had to go ask. I was like, does anybody know some books about this? Which Jake and Stacey did do a video where they talked about, they gave suggestions of prompts for every one of these. They gave suggestions of books for every one of these prompts. So I will definitely link that video below because that's also where they talk about like what all the prompts are. So I went straight to Stacey and I was like, well, I went over to the Discord and I was like, can anybody give me some help on this? They offered some suggestions of horror books and they sounded terrifying to me. And I was like, can I get something else that's not so terrifying? So Stacey, who loves Red Rising, told me that particularly starting with book 3 and forward, there were definitely people who are blinded by their ambition. And I was like, okay, wonderful. I'm putting book number 3, which is the next one I'm on, in the Red Rising. Then we go to the 80s. The team leader, I forgot to say this, the team leader on the 70s is Jake, so he's my team leader. And those books I read that are down there, they get me my team points. Now, if I want to take points away from the 80s teams, here's what I read. Number 6 is Take On Me, a book you are scared to take on. I put The Crown Tower in here because this is one of my 50 Before 50 series that I've never started. And so I'm a little bit worried because there are 2 left. There are 2 series left that I have not started yet. And I'm concerned that I might not like them, even though I've already put them on my 50 Before 50. So I want to try to read them. So anyway, I'm a little bit scared of it. Number 7 is Maniac, a book you can binge in 1 or 2 sittings. And I picked Mort by Terry Pratchett because those books are always fun and fast and I love them. Never Gonna Give You Up, Rickroll. Roll a die to determine the length of your next read. So I had to roll a die, which thankfully I got a 2, which was a little bit hard actually because my book had to have between 200 and 250 pages. And it was too hard for me to go through all of my 50 Before 50 books and find one. So I went over to Storygraph and did the filter. And I'm going to be reading Mainly by Moonlight, which is a paranormal mystery series that I think will be kind of cool to read. So that's the first one that's not on my 50 Before 50 list. Then we have number 9, The Safety Dance, a book that's a safe bet. You know you'll enjoy it. I picked Veronica Speedwell. I know I love Veronica and Stoker. I know that these books make me so happy. And I'm like, I know I will enjoy this book. I had a lot of choices actually, because there's a lot of books on my 50 Before 50 that I know I will enjoy. Okay, finally, Don't You Forget About Me, a book you wanted to read a long time ago, but still haven't. And I put The Black Prism. This one is the other series in my 50 Before 50 that I have not started. I have wanted to read this series for a really long time and I haven't read it yet. So I'm also a little bit scared about this one. But once I finish these 80s books, I will at least know or have started every single 50 Before 50 book series. And I will know whether I'm going to be able to continue them or not. Okay, and I'll scoot over so you can see that we have a CD for the 90s and a cell phone, an iPod for the zeros, the 2000s. I don't know what we call those. I feel like they're called the aughts, but then that'll make me feel real old if I say that and that's not right. Anyway, let's jump into the 90s. This team leader is Nico for this one. Number 11, You Can't Touch This, MC Hammer. A book you don't physically own. So I went with Kiss of Snow. I literally could have gone with almost every one of them on my 50 Before 50. And I was like, let me give myself as much romance and mystery and fast-paced books that I can for this TBR because yes, this is happening during the magical readathon. Also, I have not talked about these little graphics that they made at all, but how cute is this little Tamagotchi thing and the Sunny D? Oh, the amount of Sunny D that I drank as a child because we all felt like that was healthy. Okay, number 12, Jump Around, a book with multiple POVs and or multiple timelines. I'm going with Drakkar, which is 7 Brides for 7 Alien Brothers. This is book number 3 maybe, or 4 even, in this series, and all of them have had multiple timelines. Like we've gone back to the past and we've been in the future, and they've all had multiple timelines. So I'm hoping that this book continues that pattern. Then we have Cotton Eye Joe, a book with a redneck, western, or country vibes. I want y'all to go with me here because yes, it is a sci-fi and yes, it is a romance. However, Indark and the rest of the guys, these 7 aliens, they are cowboys. They're ranchers. They own a ranch with cattle. Yes, it's alien cattle, but it's still cattle. And so I'm counting this as Western vibes. Like everything, all the the citizens, all the townspeople, they're all like Western. It's all set in like what would have been the Old West of the U.S., like how that's described. It's all like that. So I'm counting it. Number 14, we have Tub Thumping, a book with a redemption story or a persistent character. So this one right here, The Jackal by J.R. Ward, it's not the next book I'm on, but I'm reading one of them for the Magical Readathon, and then I can read this book. And this is about a guy who has been imprisoned, and it's all about his redemption story, at least from what I can tell from the description of it. And then finally, we have Closing Time, the final book in the series or the last book in an author's backlist. And I'm going with Shades in Shadow. This is the last book in the Inheritance trilogy extra books. So this is the end, the last one in the Inheritance. They're calling it Triptych, an Inheritance Triptych. So it's all about the Inheritance series. And that is the books that I have picked out for the 90s. So then we move into the 2000s. That's just what I'm calling it. I've decided. The team leader for this one is Ian. And book number 16, Who Let the Dogs Out? I definitely know that song. A popular book you don't understand the hype for. I'm guessing that means they think Who Let the Dogs Out is a popular song that you don't understand the hype for. Anyway, I'm going with the Raven Boys. And here's why. I Googled overhyped books, and this was on the list, and I own this whole series and have not started it. So this is one of those that I want to like because Kayla likes it at Books and Lala. However, that doesn't mean I'm going to like it. She likes weird books that I don't always like. So we will see if I like this or not, but I don't know that it was necessarily super hyped, but according to the list on Goodreads, it was. Anyway, number 17 is Smooth Criminal, which I would just like to say, yes, the song Smooth Criminal by Animal Ant Farm or whatever must have been popular in the 2000s because my Smooth Criminal was way earlier than that. Anyway, a book featuring a heist or an assassin. I had to go with The Bastards. This Republic of Thieves is book number 3, and every single book in this series has some kind of heist in it. So they were all listed when I went and looked at heist books. I wanted to read this, but I just wasn't sure if it was going to be in there or not in there. So it's in there. Number 18, Cupid Shuffle. I do not know this song. A book that you randomly generated from your TBR or want to read list. I went to my 50 before 50. I picked a random number, and I'm reading The Cold Room by J.T. Ellison. That's where I went to my list. Number 19, Bad Day. I know that one. A book featuring a character who's having a bad day or a bad time of it. This guy, the cover looks like he's having a bad day. His shirt's all ripped and torn. But actually, I read the synopsis of it, and I think it's the main female character who's having a bad day and a bad time of it. We'll find out for sure if the description was correct, but that's what the description led me to believe. Then we have number 20, Sandstorm. I don't know that song either. A book with a desert setting. And what better way to end this all than with Dune, Messiah. This is the second book in the Dune series. And no, I've still not watched the movies or if they're TV shows. I have not seen Dune in any kind of way. Whether that's a movie. Are they movies? Y'all, I think that they're movies, right? Because I think there's 2 movies out right now. And they're both apparently the first book in 2 movies. So I guess I can watch those 2 movies because I have read the first book. Here are all of them all together. Everything that I'm going to try to read. And we have a little bit of a strategy going on our team. Just some thoughts that some of us have had about how we should go about doing these and in what order we should go about doing them. So I'm not going to say that here because I don't want any of the other teams to get some ideas from watching this, but our team has a little strategy. If you have read any of these books, I would like to know about it, especially the ones that aren't on my 50 before 50 list, which is only a couple. I think there are 2. Mainly by Moonlight and the Raven Boys are the only 2 that are not on my 50 before 50 list, which means I've never read those authors and I've never read those series. Everything else, I guess technically The Crown Tower and The Black Prism, I have not read either. So anyway, I am so excited to jump into this. At the beginning of the month, I am going to be reading these books on the outside of class time, meaning if you saw my previous videos where I talked about the classes I'm taking for Aurelium and my Aurelium class schedule, these books get read outside of class. Now, there are overlaps. There are 5 books that are on this list that I'm also using for the other one. So those will be read as I have class time for them. And then these are all going to be read outside of class time. So at the beginning of April, I'm not going to have as much time to read these. But as we go further into April, I will have a lot more time. Someone in my house just woke up and Django would like to greet them. That's a perfect time for me to say goodbye. So I will be back in the next video and I will see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.